Om. Today is one of the most auspicious days of the year, as today is Guru Pournami. Guru Pournami is the birth anniversary of Brahmarshi Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa is Vishnu incarnate, and the very birth of Veda Vyasa is a very significant point in Sanatana Dharma, that is its strongest point. Sanatana Dharma, whenever it is in turmoil, whenever the devotees are confused, whenever the eternal path is in disarray, great sages descend upon earth to guide us towards the Supreme Personality. And that's exactly what makes this Dharma Sanatana, this Dharma eternal, this Dharma that shall last forever. Sage Parashara, in his extraordinary Sankalpa, that a great soul shall be born to revive and propagate Sanatana Dharma, to lay a path for future generations to walk upon, gave birth to Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa was a Brahmagnani from birth, and this Brahmagnani classified the Veda mantras into 4 Vedas for easier transmission to further generations and propagation of Sanatana Dharma. He authored the Puranas, which made the message of the Vedas to be easily transmitted through different stories and different incidents happening in the celestial and mortal planes. He also authored the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras were till then available only in the celestial planes, and Vedavyasa taught these to his disciples so that they can be propagated and humankind can benefit through learning the Brahma Sutras and practicing the messages within, thus experiencing the divine Parabrahman, the source, the everything of creation. He also authored the Mahabharata, the greatest epic ever written, which includes Bhagavadgita, the message by the Supreme Being himself regarding how to reach him, and also the Vishnu Sahasranama. The chanting of Vishnu Sahasranama itself is more than enough to experience the divine personality. Even one name chanted over and over through a lifetime can grant the supreme vision. Even if a person has done any one of these, written any one of these books, he shall be considered one of the greatest sages to ever have born on earth. But still, Vedavyasa was not the one who could rest on laurels. He was still worried that he couldn't do something, he couldn't fulfill his purpose. Then, on the advice of sage Narada, he authored Bhagavatam, which gave us all the message embedded in the Vedas, Puranas, Brahma Sutras, Mahabharata into simple short stories, the stories of the divine and the stories of the devotees. That Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all teachings, was written by Vedavyasa. In commemoration of this great sage, we celebrate his birth anniversary as Guru Pournami, as a tribute to all the Gurus in our spiritual journey, all the Gurus who have awakened spirituality in humanity and who have led humans towards realizing the eternal, supreme, singular Paramatma, Parabrahma. So on this auspicious occasion, I wish you all a happy Guru Pournami. Guru Pournami, in addition to the generalized significance it has, is very significant to me personally in our family, because on this Guru Pournami a few years ago was born my daughter Sree. On Guru Pournami last year was born my son Om. So, though their birth dates vary according to the Gregorian calendar, their birthday falls on this same day, Guru Pournami, according to the Indian calendar, and hence Om completes 1 year today. On this auspicious occasion of Guru Pournami and the first birthday of my son Om, let us discuss Om. Before starting the discussion on Om, I have to tell you one thing. To speak or to write about Om was a long time thought for me. I tried many times to write on Om, even before my son was born. But whenever I think of it, my mind just used to go blank. No ideas, no thoughts, no words, no emotions, absolutely blank. That's an indescribable state. After staying for some time in that state, I come out. But how can I write describing the indescribable? So I leave it thinking maybe sometime, maybe another time. This has happened many times, so many times. Whenever I think of Om, whenever I want to write on Om, I want to speak on Om, I just go into deep samadhi and come out. And after I come out, there is nothing to write about. This has happened so many times, but recently in one of my meditations, I was blessed with a vision of Om, glowing with the brilliance of 1,000 suns, emanating radiance all around, and was lost in its ethereal trance. As I came out of that trance, the lines on which this has to be written became clear, and I immediately started penning. Like every time I say, it is the Supreme Consciousness that speaks through me, and in that vision, whatever manifested to me, I share with you. First, let me say that every element of this creation, every single cell, however small or mighty, has a vibration of its own. Without this vibration, there is no existence. You might think the table, the chair, the hill, the rock, which are stationary, do not have this vibration. But if we go deeper and analyze the microscopic components of any item, we can find the vibration. The vibration is there whether we perceive or not. Modern scientists have developed sensitive instruments that can measure this vibration. So I have seen a few videos of instruments being placed on a table, on a rock, and the graph just moves on. The vibration is being measured. This vibration is unique for every single substance, every single article that might be a product made of different substances. So a substance has a vibration, another substance has a different vibration, and when these two substances are combined to make a single substance, that will have a different vibration that is different from either of the initial substances. So this vibration, the frequency, the intensity decide the properties of that substance, and any variation in this vibration changes the properties. It is there but beyond the experience of our senses. Why it is beyond the experience of our senses, and how can we believe that something beyond our senses exists, is a pertinent question asked by many. I have to say that our senses are very limited, very. How foolish of us to challenge the very existence of God just because He is not visible. Our human eye sees light only in a few wavelengths known as the visible spectrum. This very concept of wavelength is the vibration of light which we considered perfectly straight. When we shine a light through a torch, we see it is a combination of perfect straight lines. But they are not straight lines, they are waves, the waves of light. Light vibrating in the wavelengths above and below this visible wavelength is called infrared and ultraviolet. The red and violet represent the end colors of the visible spectrum. So the visible spectrum is the violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. On either side of this visible spectrum we have infrared and ultraviolet variations of this wavelength. We now know that UV and IR rays exist and use them in various electronic and medical appliances. Just because our eyes don't see them, do we deny their existence? Before this ultraviolet and infrared rays were discovered, they existed, and even if we forget their existence, they still exist. Similarly, whatever we see with our senses, whatever is identifiable by instruments or whatever man-made inventions, we believe. We don't believe anything that we can't see with our senses and we can't measure with our instruments. So before these instruments were invented, did these rays do not exist? No, they existed, just we didn't know them. So even if our instruments, our vision, our sense organs are not able to identify something, we just can't deny its existence because someday we might identify that. Here's an interesting video on how a vibration affects elements. The granules are placed on a table and a vibrating sound is made. See how the granules arrange themselves into a particular fashion. So the randomly placed granules on a table arrange themselves into a design. And now the same granules on the same table arrange themselves differently with a different vibration. Purely magical. Similarly, whether we perceive or not, everything in this creation vibrates, and everything that vibrates emits a sound. The vibration of a bell creates an audible sound. The vibration of a table creates a sound so minute that it is not audible to the human ear, but it does create. So how do you believe this? You will be able to believe this when you think of the earthquake. The vibration of earth when crosses a limit becomes an earthquake, and animals sense the change in vibration much before humans can. Now we have seismic equipment which can sense it precisely and forewarn us. This sound each object substance emits from its characteristic vibration is the common thread in every element of creation, because it is common and basic property of every element, every component, every single entity in this creation. Now, if we analyze deeper, go beyond what is obvious, we will get to a stunning fact that it is not the item that emits the sound, it is the sound that brought the item into existence. It is the vibration that is the basics, the vibration that brought the item into existence. It is a surprising thing. Let us discuss an example. The light which we see with our human eye is straight, but it has a vibration, as we discussed, a wavelength. Now this light, when interrupted by a type of crystal that breaks this wavelength into individual components, what comes out are rainbow colors. The colors which I told in the visible spectrum, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, are visible when this light comes and strikes a crystal, and the outcome is the 7 different colors of light. Now we see the rainbow color light coming out of the crystal. The new wavelengths, the new vibration created these new lights. So the initial white light has only one vibration. When it passes through the crystal, it is broken into different vibrations, and these different vibrations give rise to the new colors of the light. The different sounds in various dimensions give rise to varied elements of creation, and the interplay of these elements of creation makes the creation. Each interplay creates a different vibration, hence a different aspect of creation, different entity of creation. The sound is the basis of creation. The light that splits into 7 different lights, the variations in one vibration give rise to multitude. If we go back and back from the multitude, realizing that vibration from which this has come, and then the further source vibration from which the previous vibration has come, like if you go from whatever is visible, whatever we are experiencing, we shall go back from where it is originated. From that point, still go back to where it originated. From that point, still go back to where it originated. You take multiple sources and go back from each source back and back. It will narrow down till we get one vibration, one sound, one entity, and that vibration, that sound is Om. Om is that primordial sound that is the basis of all sounds, the first sound from which every other sound emerged, and hence Om is the basis of creation. What is special about Om? What characteristic of Om makes it the primordial sound? Let me explain you this concept of stem cells. As a medical student, I was fascinated with a subject called embryology in first year of medical college. Human embryology is the study of how a human being takes form in the mother's womb. The way a child is born is the greatest miracle. It is a supreme magic. So many immensely complicated things happen in such a perfect harmony, and a baby takes shape. That is why the diet, the activities, and even the thoughts of an expecting mother are very, very important. Because such a complex process, such an extraordinary harmonious process is happening in her body, and that needs complete attention, that needs highest priority. The male sperm and the female ovum unite to form a single cell that multiplies into a bunch of cells called the embryo, and this grows into the fetus with many different organs. This initial bunch of cells have the potential to form any cell of the body, to grow into any organ, liver, heart, skin, bone, anything. These are called the stem cells. As the organs form and the baby grows, these stem cells become limited in number. The properties of these stem cells get transmitted to different kinds of cells, though in a latent form. The right technique can transform any cell back into a stem cell. Because all the cells of a human body have originated from the stem cells, if you understand the process, if you can replicate the process, any cell of the human body can be transformed back into the stems, because every single cell has the representation of the stem cell in a latent form. Just correlate it with human existence. The human existence, every single human being is born from the divine supreme personality, and that divine element is inherent in a latent form in every human being. So through right practice, through right methodologies, every human being can aspire to recognize and identify, become one with the divinity within him. This is what Swami Vivekananda meant when he said, each soul is potentially divine. coming back to our stem cells. So these stem cells have the potential to transform into any cell. So at time of birth, these cells are found in the umbilical cord. If these cells can be saved outside, they can be used to form any organ when the person's own organs get diseased. This is known as stem cell banking and stem cell transplantation. Nowadays, it has become very popular to save the baby stem cells for future eventuality, as they would be perfect match to kidney or liver if they fail at a later stage. As stem cell research grows in future, many presently untreatable diseases would be curable. I hope you got the similarity. So Om is the stem cell of the creation, the supreme energy that can manifest into anything at will, the all-pervading oneness that manifests as the multiplied variations, the singular common thread that runs at the very core of existence. Realizing its potential and striving to tap into its unparalleled energy is the essence of meditation on Om, going back to the source, identifying with your reality, identifying with what you truly are. So meditation on Om, so chanting of Om is going back to the very foundation, harnessing the greatest power beyond all imagination. Now with this orientation, listen to Om chanting. Whenever you listen to Om, whenever you chant Om, try to do this with this orientation from this perspective. You will gain so much and you will progress much faster. Chant Om a few times in peace. You will definitely notice a vibration traversing your whole body. Be observant, be calm, be in solitude, and you can notice this vibration. It is unmissable. It is just the beginning. As you go deep and deep, pure magic, really, truly pure magic awaits you. Let us now consider another aspect of Om. Om is also the linguistic basis of all language, of all communication. Om is the combination of three sounds: A, U, Ma. A, U, Ma. A, U, M. Some schools of thought pronounce the Om as Om, and it is said that it would tap into each component of Om, allowing the practitioner to grasp the whole essence. So try opening your mouth and uttering the sound. It is in any language, the first letter is something similar. In few languages, the first letter is O, a combination of A and U. Try closing your mouth and uttering the sound. It is Try keeping your mouth half closed and half open and utter the sound. It is Oo. Language doesn't matter. The sound remains the same. Because during uttering of the sound, either your mouth is closed or open or partially open. It is from this primordial sound, all different sounds, hence the different letters representing the sounds emanated. And as sounds passed on from generations to generations and people migrating into different environments, the utterances changed, giving rise to multiply varied sounds and thus different languages. As you go back and back, assessing each language and the origin of words, the origin of letters, the origin of the sound that gave the rise to letters, and go back and back, you will come to the origin Om. If you hear the cries of the hunter tribes, then you will understand this better. Few such tribes exist till date. You can easily get back to Om, as these are very primitive and not much distant from the foundation. Our languages are too much changed and you have to travel long distance back to reach the foundation. Nevertheless, for the tribal shouts, for the hunting cries, or for different languages, for the different sophistication, for the different modulations, if you go back and back, you will get to only one point, and that is Om. The starting point, the basis of all language, the primary chant on which all interaction depends. This brings us to another important conclusion regarding the actual meaning of Om. In different Sanskrit texts and in different philosophies of Vedanta, in the teachings of different teachers and gurus in the Upanishads, Om is variedly described as representing the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, the three Devis, Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati, the three timelines, the past, present and future, the three gunas that make up the universe, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, the three regions of the universe, Urdhva, Bhu and Adho, and the three categories of life, Deva, Nru and Tiryak, and so on and so forth. So does Om mean all these? Does Om mean anything else? Yes, Om stands for all these and many more. So actually, how many meanings does Om have? 1,000 meanings? Sahasra? This has a finer meaning. When Vishnu is worshipped in Vishnu Sahasranama with 1,000 names, does that mean Vishnu has 1,000 names? No, it means Vishnu, the all-pervading Supreme, takes on infinite names that manifest as the infinite forms, and there is no name that is not actually His, because there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that is not He. Similarly, Om has a Sahasra meaning infinite, and as it is all in all of existence, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that is not Om. Om means everything, and everything means Om. Elucidating this point, we have an Upanishadic story where a disciple approaches a guru seeking for a mantra that will grant him anything, everything, or anything he wishes. The guru says, "You have to serve in the ashrama for some time before I can teach you the mantra, whether you are eligible for that mantra or not." So, this disciple serves very, very attentively to the needs of the guru and to the needs of the ashrama. And after some years, he approaches the guru asking whether he is eligible for the supreme mantra. The guru says, "Yes, you are now eligible," and grants him the supreme mantra. He teaches him Om. The disciple is not happy. He says Om is a generic sound. Om is very commonly used in salutations, commonly used in conversations, in every puja, and Om is nothing new that the disciple didn't know earlier. So he was in the ashram for so many years, he has heard Om so many times, and even before coming to the ashram, he has heard Om so many times, so he is not satisfied. So the Guru gives this disciple a stone and asks him to go to the marketplace and ask in various shops to find the exact value of this stone. But he asks not to sell it. So this disciple goes to different shops, to a vegetable vendor who says he can give him a few vegetables, a few kilos of vegetables for this stone. He goes to a potter who says, "I can use this stone as a stand for my pots, so I can give you 1 or 2 pots." So he goes on and on. Everyone quotes a different value for that stone. He goes to a small jewelry shop too. He quotes a better value. So he goes to a bigger jewelry shop. He quotes a very high value. And then he goes to a still bigger jewelry shop in the town. And that jewelry shop owner says, "I cannot say, or I don't know anyone who can exactly value this stone, because this stone is so precious, so rare, so extraordinary. Its value is infinite. I cannot buy it." So this disciple is now surprised. How come so many people quoted so many different values from almost zero to infinity? So this disciple gets back to the Guru and tells his experience. The Guru says, "See, this is a common stone, but it has different value for different people. So Om, everyone knows Om, everyone has heard Om, but very few realize its true potential, and still very few, the rarest of the rare, actually realize in reality. So if you chant Om, if you meditate on Om, if you can grasp the Om in its total essence, there is nothing more you can achieve. There is nothing more you can aspire for. Everything, literally everything is in this creation is at your feet." So coming back to our Om as the linguistic basis of all knowledge, and Om has having different and infinite meanings. Everything is the meaning of Om, and there is nothing that is beyond Om. Then why waste our time in the nuances of language, in the nitty-gritty of mind-boggling philosophy? Let us spend it better in the first sound Om, the stem cell of all language. He who masters Om masters all language, all philosophy. He will become a master beyond language, and thus breaking all barriers. His word will inspire people across languages, across cultures, across nations, across all timelines, as he is beyond all these differences. Our sages, our philosophers, our saints have all experienced Om for what it truly is, and thus their every word lives forever. Now, let us elucidate the points discussed above in a deeper way and get to the very beginning of creation. What I am going to try to explain now is beyond language. It cannot be transmitted by language, by speech. It is experiential, and it definitely needs a deeper insight. It will help if you meditate on what is being said next. Understanding it is one thing, and knowing it experientially is totally different. When there was only one singular existence, the Parabrahman, a Sankalpa arose in that singularity to manifest the multitude. The first form that Sankalpa took was the sound Om. That sound attained a form and manifested as the seed of creation. Thus Om is Shabda Brahmam, is Srushti Bijam. Shabda Brahmam, Srushti Bijam, Om. As the sound originated, the vibrations emanated across the Parabrahman gave rise to the creator Brahma, from whom it again emanated as Veda Vakyas. Vedas are the primordial source of knowledge, the knowledge bestowed upon Lord Brahma by the Parabrahman in order to manifest the creation, create the creation. The sound of the Vedas is the manifestation of Om in its different variations, with each variation defining and giving existence to each element of creation with its own varying properties and manifestations. Hence, the meaning of the shlokas in Vedas is secondary. The sound with which they are read is actually of primary and great importance, because the power of the Vedas, the essence of the Vedas, lies in its sound. Vedas are the capsulated forms of all the possible frequencies that make the creation. The living and the non-living, the celestial bodies, the divinities that govern the lokas and the elements, everything. If I have to say in modern terms, Vedas are the command language of the program called creation. You can utilize the components in creation without knowing the command language, but if you want to understand the creation, master it, make it run as per your will and wish, correct its course, you have to know the command language. Only when the command language is mastered, you gain mastery over the program and it will behave as per your command. To be under the influence of Maya or to be able to govern the Maya is the difference between an ordinary man and a Maharshi. Any frequency can be altered and a new frequency can be created, and as said earlier, a frequency stands for an element or component of creation, and by altering or making a new frequency, you will be altering or creating a component. The pujas prescribed for getting the wishes fulfilled or to overcome troubles, the mantra sadhanas, practiced to attain a higher consciousness and a power beyond human limitations, are all in the Vedic tradition, and those done in the prescribed manner will only yield fruit. Because these pujas, these mantras, these sadhanas are prescribed in Vedas as the manifestations of the Om, the different manifestations, the different sounds that can harvest the potential that lies in Om. We also hear that Vedas are Apaurusheya. It is said so because Vedas were there before they have been realized, codified and written down for generations to teach and practice. The existence of Vedas is much before any human even existed. The methodology, the rules of the creation have been first framed, and within that framework the creation has been created. Vedas are like user manual for creation. And these Vedas owe their origin to Om, Shabda Brahmam, the basic frequency of all other frequencies, the one from which all sounds emanated, the one from which all creation manifested. The same is elucidated in the following shloka. Onkara Prabhava Veda, Onkara Prabhava Sarva, Onkara Prabhavam Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam. And thus understanding and realizing Om gives you a grasp over the essence of the Vedas, a deep experiential realization of the frequencies incorporated, and thus gives you unparalleled mastery over the creation. You will no longer be bound by the rules of creation. You will become the master. Hence the Upanishads and all Vedanta proclaimed unequivocally that Om is the final destination, the goal of all teachings and sadhana, the one that is to be strived for in this human birth over and above all other trivialities. The following shloka from Kathopanishad describes the same message. Sarve Veda yat padamamananti, tapamsi sarvani cha yad vadanti, yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti, tatte vadam sangrahena bravimyomityetat. So that is Om. Kathopanishad goes on to describe Om as the single letter manifestation of the Supreme Parabrahman in the following shlokas. Etadyevaksharam Brahma, etadyevaksharam Param, etadyevaksharam Gnatva, yo yadichati statsya tat. That single letter is the Brahman, this single letter is the ultimate. He who actually knows this manifests everything he decides, if he so desires. There will be no desire, but if you desire, it will come to you. Etadalambanam sreshtam, etadalambanam param, etadalambanam gnatva, brahmaloke mahiyate. This Om is the greatest, the supreme, knowing which one is worshipped in Brahmaloka, meaning he verily becomes the Parabrahman himself. Mandukya Upanishad also reiterates the same in unequivocal terms in the very first sloka. Omityetadaksharamidam sarvam tasyopavyakhyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam onkara eva yachanyat trikalaatitam tadapyonkara eva. The single syllable Om is the all in all. The past, present and future are Om. That which is beyond all timelines is again Om. So everything that ever existed, that is existing and that will exist is Om. And everything that exists beyond all this existence is still Om. So Mandukya Upanishad's first sloka is this one, and the rest of the Mandukya Upanishad is an elaboration of this first sloka. Because Mandukya Upanishad then goes on to describe the Atman as the all-pervading singular entity that is the only existence and concludes, Soyam Atma Adhyaksharam Onkaro Dhimatram. Om is a single syllable manifestation of that Atman, the Parabrahman. Sri Krishna in Bhagavadgita reiterates and proclaims the same when he says, Omityekaksharam Brahma. Om is the single letter manifestation of the Parabrahman, the one that incorporates everything within. So if you want to describe Parabrahman in a single word, single syllable, that is Om. Now, how does a single syllable, a single utterance, hold within itself the immense and immeasurable power of the infinite and incomprehensible creation? Om is Srushti Bijam. Jagadguru Adi Shankara gives this analogy in Dakshinamurti Stotra. Bijasyantarivangkuro jagadidam prang nirvikalpam punaha. He takes an example of a tree and its seed. We see a vast tree that sprouts out of a small seed, which in turn gives rise to so many innumerable seeds that sprout into uncountable trees and so on. We have to understand that all these trees were there in that single seed before they actually manifested. They were there in that seed in the unmanifest form. The entire creation is there in Om in an unmanifest form. So this single syllable, this single sound, this single utterance is the basis of creation, and all creation lies in an unmanifested form in Om. As the sankalpa for creation rises, the unmanifest becomes manifest, and as the creation is dissolved, the manifest becomes the unmanifest, back into its origin. The creation, sustenance and dissolution are all happening within Om, that is the singular expression of the Parabrahman, the only singularity that ever existed or will ever exist. Om is the seed of the creation, the originating point. As we travel deep into ourselves in contemplation of what we truly are, all the superficial attributes we took onto ourselves fall like dominoes, and every fallacy gives away, and we go deeper and deeper beyond all the samskaras collected over infinite lifetimes. Our name, our form, our shape, our nationality, our identity, everything are superficial attributes. As all these fall away, we go and identify into ourselves the true reality of what we actually are. Beyond all this superficial existence, beyond all what we considered the only existence, there shall be found Om, glowing in brilliance unparalleled, giving light and thus existence to all that we thought so far as we and ours, they and theirs. When that supreme light is experienced and realized, there shall remain no boundaries, as all that is seen or heard or experienced shall be realized as the manifestation of the same brilliance. The duality shall be erased, and the multitude loses its multiplicity. He who attains such a state bows in submission to the smallest element of creation, as he sees in every singular manifestation the reality behind the Parabrahman shining as Om. He who identifies the Parabrahman in every small and insignificant element of this creation, in every manifestation of this creation, in every individual, in every animal, in every plant, in every cell, in every element, in every entity, that individual is the truly realized one, because he sees himself in everyone and everyone within himself. So he bows to everyone, and to such an individual the creation bows in submission. By submitting oneself to the singularity that shines in all, one attains mastery over the creation. By seeing oneself in every element of creation, one attains the power to influence everything and anything. His word becomes a command. It's not that the power is the target. It is the realization that is the target, and power comes with it. His word becomes a command for the universe to fulfill, and all universe conspires to what he aspires to. By realizing the eternal Parabrahman shining as Om, one becomes one with the Parabrahman, which is the true nature of everything and everyone that ever existed or will ever exist. So, salutations to Om, the eternal Parabrahman. Om.